Hey everyone, and welcome 8th graders to today's Explainer. We're diving into a genuinely massive idea today. The reality that monumental, world-shifting historical changes always begin with courageous people. We're going to be looking at the true architects of American independence. Because, it wasn't just magic that created a brand new nation out of thin air. It was a very specific group of leaders who used their minds, their voices, and most importantly, their moral compasses to guide the colonies from some simple protests all the way to absolute independence. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're covering 1. The spark of courage. 2. 4 leaders, 4 gifts. 3. The chain of independence. 4. Morality in true leadership. And finally, number 5. Education with true purpose. Let's just jump right in. Section 1. The spark of courage. I want to challenge you right out of the gate to completely rethink what the word courage actually means. We watch movies, right? And we tend to think of courage strictly as battlefield bravery, charging into enemy fire with a sword or musket. But history, it actually shows us something much, much deeper. To truly understand these historical figures, we have to anchor our lesson in Deuteronomy 31:6. It says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God goes with you." So true courage, it's really about doing what is right, even when the path is incredibly difficult and the personal cost is just tremendously high. It's moral bravery. Keep that specific definition in the back of your mind as we look at our key leaders today. Moving into Section 2, 4 leaders, 4 gifts. Think of the Founding Fathers almost like, a historical superhero team. You don't build a great team by having everybody do the exact same thing, right? Instead, each member brought a unique, highly specialized talent to fight the world's strongest military. Let's meet the team. First up, we've got John Adams. His superpower? Reason and law. He had this brilliant ability to use crystal-clear arguments and firmly uphold fairness. Adams was a lawyer and a delegate to the Continental Congress, and he deeply, deeply believed that law and liberty absolutely must stand together. You literally cannot have one without the other. Now, Adams was actually famously stubborn and argumentative, which honestly made him a fantastic lawyer. He put that reason into action by arguing powerfully for independence, back when others were still terrified of the idea. He used his brilliant logic to build unity by nominating a Virginian, George Washington, to command the army, basically proving this wasn't just a New England fight. And perhaps most bravely, Adams actually defended British soldiers after the Boston Massacre, just to protect the fundamental idea of fair trials. He did what was just, not what was popular. Next in the lineup is George Washington. His defining trait is absolutely perseverance, steadiness, and the ability to learn from mistakes through extreme hardship. Think about it. Washington accepted command of an entirely untrained army and had to basically face down the most powerful military machine on the entire planet. Facing severely scarce supplies, brutal freezing winters, and some truly terrible early defeats, he inspired absolute confidence by modeling discipline. His quiet decisions, his sheer resilience to just hold the line when things were at their absolute toughest, those were just as vital as his battlefield tactics. He just refused to quit. Leader number 3, Thomas Paine. This guy had the master ability of persuasion. Back then, high-level political talk was usually reserved for the wealthy elite, but Paine brought it straight to the streets. He had the genius to take massive, super complicated political theories and translate them into clear, everyday logic that literally any colonist could understand. Words have immense power, and Paine was a master of them. In early 1776, Paine drops his pamphlet called Common Sense. Guys, this was the 1776 version of going totally viral. It completely shifted public opinion almost overnight. It made the idea of breaking away from a distant king feel not just possible, but highly practical and intensely urgent. He moved support for independence out of the stuffy political halls and right into the homes of ordinary colonists. And finally, Benjamin Franklin. His specialized skill was diplomacy, the art of patient negotiation and securing vital international relationships. Keep in mind, Franklin was in his 70s during all of this. While battles raged over in America, Franklin was across the ocean in Paris. His patient, careful negotiations were just as critical as any physical battle fought on American soil. So, why was this such a massive game changer? Well, after the victory at Saratoga, Franklin secured a formal alliance with France. This brought crucial French money, ships, and soldiers right into the conflict. Without this diplomatic victory, later military triumphs, especially the decisive victory at Yorktown, would have been practically impossible. All right, Section 3, the chain of independence. Revolutions aren't just chaotic collections of random battles. They are built on ideas, words, and incredibly wise choices that interlock to create this unstoppable momentum. Let's look at how our four leaders actually connect. This step-by-step progression is literally the engine of the American Revolution. Step 1, Thomas Paine uses his persuasive words to convince the ordinary people. Step 2, John Adams uses reason to secure the political votes for independence in Congress. Step 3, Benjamin Franklin leverages that political stance into foreign alliances over in France. And Step 4, George Washington takes that foreign support and his incredible perseverance to secure the final military victories. One step completely enables the next. It's a perfect chain reaction. This synthesis table is an incredibly helpful study guide. It lays out the who, the what's, and the how perfectly. You've got Adams with reason, Washington with perseverance, Paine with persuasion, and Franklin with diplomacy. Reviewing how each leader uniquely contributed to the overall cause really makes the entire timeline click into place. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. Section 4, Morality and True Leadership. So we've talked about what these men did historically, but let's shift our focus back to our biblical framework for a second. What do these historical figures actually teach us about godly, moral leadership today? Notice that from a biblical perspective, godly leadership is way more than just being the boss or being in charge. It requires courage, wisdom, humility, service to others, and standing up for justice. True leaders don't use their talents just to seek attention for themselves, right? They humbly serve others and do what is just. It's exactly like John Adams defending those British soldiers, simply because it was the fundamentally right thing to do. And that brings us to Section 5, Education with True Purpose. We are going to build a direct bridge from the history of 1776 right into your classroom today, taking a look at your own educational journey. Here is a huge reflection question for you to really ponder. How are you going to use your own gifts courageously to serve others and do what is right? Just like the Founding Fathers formed a team of talents, you have your own unique gifts. Maybe you're a fantastic writer, a super logical thinker, a natural peacemaker, or someone with just incredible perseverance. Finding your place in that team of talents is really what your education is all about. You know, intertwining biblical morality with education happens for one very specific, absolutely crucial reason. Education without morality will ultimately hurt. Think about it. What is the actual point of being incredibly smart, memorizing a ton of facts, and being supposedly educated if you just continue to make bad choices that end up hurting yourself and the people around you? True education requires a solid moral compass to guide it. Which brings us to our final, powerful conclusion. Romans 8:6-7 promises this: "For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace." Keeping a spiritual mind brings lasting peace. So, as you log off today, I want you to ask yourself, if the choices of just a few courageous individuals could build an entire nation back then, what will your moral choices build tomorrow? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.